Hey, Tolva Thursday, switching it up for Jesus' birthday and whatnot. Uh, yeah, Tolva's back finally. Bryce is here, never left,
Hey everybody.
Always been here.
and Tolva just talk about Sunday's game for the Saints.
Okay, I told my friend who started trolling me because he's a Bucks fan. He was like, "So how much the Bucks are gonna win by?" And I was like, honestly, like our two All-Pro left and right tackle, they're out. We got players on the COVID list. So I was like, if we lose by two touchdowns or less, I'll feel good about it because we have a good defense. But if you told me we were going to win 9-0, I would not have believed you. I flat would not have believed you. A, because I don't think Taysom Hill is capable of running an offense that can put up 9 points. But also, that's the highest scoring offense in the league this year. We held them to 0 points. Cam Jordan looked vintage. The four-man pressure, I mean, that's been the real – when the Saints are creating that much pressure with the four-man rush, which they did quite a bit in the last previous two seasons, that's when their defense is playing at their best. And we all know that Tom Brady doesn't do well when he's under duress that often with a four-man pressure. So there are still, a good amount of players in coverage. And that was really the catalyst for the Saints win, was that impressive four-man rush. Hats off to Marcus Davenport, obviously Cam Jordan, but also David Onyemata. He had a great game. And Carl Granderson, the undrafted free agent a couple years ago from Wyoming, he had a good game too. So, yeah, that was such a fun game to watch.
Yeah, Garrett's here now, just getting to relive what was a great Sunday win. Bryce.
Yeah, I thought Cam Jordan looked really good. Tolva mentioned it earlier. He had 2 sacks, 5 tackles,
Forced fumble.
Forced fumble, 3 quarterback hits. I mean, it looked like Tolva said, it looked like a vintage Cam Jordan that we've been used to seeing for his whole career. So it was nice to see him come back to that. I think Marquez Callaway looked pretty decent too. 6 for 112. Didn't score a touchdown, but I mean, still really nice game. Kamara, I'm surprised he only had 18 rushing yards. I expected a lot more from him on 11 carries.
You can't rush from the Bucks. You can't rush against them. Them and the Saints really are the only two teams this season that I just think running the ball is kind of out of the question.
Well, then use the passing game more with him, because in previous games
I do agree.
this year, it looked like it really worked.
I would like to add that on the Marquez. Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think Devin White and Levante David, even though Levante got hurt, those are two linebackers that I even though we have Alvin, I respect them in coverage. Like Devin White, I would make the case that he's the best inside linebacker in the NFL. He's a beast, and I think he did a great job on Camaro all game. So they did it. They were impressive in regards to stopping Alvin. I'll say that.
I was going to add that Marquez Callaway this past week was the first Saints receiver to go for over 100 yards in a game. And I don't know if you want to attribute that to the quarterback play in the post-Drew Brees / post-Jameis world, the mediocrity of the receiving corps in general, or the strength of the defense. But I just found that kind of interesting. You go through, and that is just the first game that the Saints receiver has gone for over 100 yards all season. And I can't think of another team in the NFL that's even done that. Waited this long to get that.
Bryce, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up? Or who are you talking to?
You are,
You
Bryce?
cut out there.
Oh.
You cut out, so.
I'm talking to you, Martino.
All right, what's up?
Are you considered an influencer?
I mean, I guess so. I've never thought of it before, but I guess you could call it that.
All right, well, that's the podcast for this week. Merry Christmas. I mean, like, we've been doing this, this is week 16.
Yeah.
Talked about every team except for, like, the Denver Broncos ad nauseum. What really
Yeah, we
is
even
there left
talked
to talk
about the
about?
Jets.
No, we talk about the Jets way too much.
Oh, I know.
I don't know why.
We could
Yeah,
talk
we
about.
have hit on some pretty awful teams fairly frequently.
Is
Repeatedly.
it even worth talking about the Pro Bowl, or are we just all accept that it's just a popularity contest at this point?
There was a lot of people left out at the Pro Bowl.
I mean it's
disgusting.
a popularity contest, but I don't want to hear Falcon fans telling me that AJ Terrell is better than Lattimore. I just can't stand them.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, they're
unbearable.
Falcons fans, but yeah, Lattimore deserved
Respect,
it.
though.
I mean,
mad respect. AJ Terrell is a great player. He's not better than Marshawn Lattimore.
It's not particularly close. Terrell's having a great season, but I mean, it's just a stupid thing to say, and it's crazy how many people are willing to say it. I mean, it's just stupid. But I think Austin Eckler not making it this year is criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, there's a list. The list is probably 20 players deep of people that had no right missing it. I mean, you go to the Bengals. I thought Joe Burrow deserved a nod. Matt Stafford deserved a nod. Demario Davis and Blake Gillikin.
Demario Davis, yeah, that was one for sure.
Gillikin's the best punter in the NFL this year, so him not making it actually would make me furious. That was my least favorite snub. It's a little personal. I mean, it's a little biased, but
I mean, have you guys? I mean, non-Saints fans, have you guys seen what Blake Gillikin has done? I mean, Bryce,
not really.
You watched the Saints-Bills game. It is like a sure thing that every single one of his punts is going to land within the 15. He's a weapon.
That was a great game for that special teams unit. I will say that.
Yeah. But I mean, he does that every game, every single game, and I mean, people were pissed because we decided to go with him over Thomas Morstead, who he's as much of a staple, not as much, but he's a staple in New Orleans the way that Drew Brees was.
Right.
But this kid is insane. But it's a punter in the Pro Bowl. What are you gonna do?
No one cares. They aren't going to punt in the Pro Bowl, so why bother? Why bother talking about it?
Yes, it's just more of a respect thing because I've never seen a punter. I watched Thomas Morstead for a decade and a half. Thomas Morstead at his peak was never as good as this guy's punting the ball right now. I mean, and of course, it's the punter. No one except for the punter's favorite team, for the fans, are going to notice it. But I mean, start paying attention to Blake Gillikin because this dude's making plays week in, week out. And it really makes up for the fact considering Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill are combining to lead this offense. It's going to end in a lot of Blake Gillikin highlights, and we've seen just that all season long.
Tolva, your Zoom profile picture, what did you use in your hair that day?
Man, that was sophomore year homecoming. I was trying to get wifed up. It's been my picture since probably the end of sophomore year. Yeah, I gotta update that.
It looks really crisp. That's why I wanted to know. I wanted to get it for myself.
Well, I'm a crispy guy, Steven. I'm a crispy guy. Everywhere I go, I look flat like that. So
sophomore year, I think that attests to the fact that a guy will take one good picture of himself a year and just use
absolutely.
It for maybe a decade if it's really nice. I mean, you could be using that well into your 30s. I mean, you're looking dapper. I mean, why not keep it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, it's a good picture.
And girls are over here complaining that we don't post enough.
I took a picture of my sister's wedding, and I posted that 3 different times.
It's going to be 30 with a Tinder account using that profile picture.
Oh, yeah. It is kind of weird to be in the home stretch here. We got 3 weeks of NFL regular season left.
Feels like it just started.
Yeah, it seems like Bills fans were just talking about the week 1 game, how much they want to bench Josh Allen and how much he's overpaid. Hard to believe that was 3 months ago now, 3-4 months ago.
And Mahomes too.
I've got a good question. I've got a good question for the floor. What's the most toxic fan base in the NFL?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Dude, the Patriots won 3 straight games, and it was like, we're back. So
I got to go with Philly here.
Philly, I think
Explain
Dallas.
yourself.
I mean, Dallas is good too, but I got to go with Philly. How much you've seen the videos, how many fights they get into, how much, like after the Super Bowl win, how rowdy they were after, like on the roads, in traffic, all that stuff. So
That's fair.
they're
I
just
say
very
Dallas.
toxic on social media too.
That's fair.
You know, Bears fans are pretty bad.
But
Yeah,
if I was a Bears fan, I'd probably be losing my mind too.
I don't
Glad to
know
watch them
if
week
they're
in,
the
week out.
worst. You know, honestly, this season, 49ers fans have been pretty bad. They've been pretty bad.
I've heard some
like
Devo
social
for
media.
MVP. Like, what's that? Stop.
Yeah, I've seen some bad stuff. There are definitely fan bases that I respect though. Like the Buccaneers, instead of like complaining, I'm not gonna say there aren't some bad apples in the Buccaneers fan base.
Oh, there's bad apples in every fan base.
Right. But instead of complaining, they were like, respect, you know? The Saints still have our number. So I can respect a fan base like that. But yeah, I mean, Steven, your team is mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. How close are the Bills to clinching?
Is that a question for me, or are you still talking to
For you.
Jaime?
Yeah, for you, Bryce.
I think we can clinch it at 10 wins, honestly, with how we don't know who's going to make the bottom half of the AFC wild card. Pretty much probably 4, 5 through 7 is up for grabs. Because Chargers, Bengals, probably there's some other teams I'm forgetting too, have been super inconsistent. Then after the Patriots, we have the Falcons and the Jets. So I think we have a realistic shot at making it at 10 wins.
Yeah.
I think some of our issues have gotten cleaned up. I could tell from second half of the Buccaneers game through the Panthers game, especially the run game. That run game looks really good now with Devin Singletary.
What's the O-line like, though? I mean, we saw utter domination. The Lions? Did anyone watch the Lions-Cardinals game?
I saw it on Red Zone, yeah. I saw bits and pieces on Red Zone.
That game was domination. They didn't just beat the Cardinals. Like, they beat the bricks out of them.
I mean, who expected Kyler Murray to get benched in the fourth quarter of a Lions blowout?
No one.
That's more of a testament to Cliff Kingsbury not being a good coach, and I can say that while Steven's gone. But that O-line, that is the point of me bringing this up. Like, the great teams, great quote-unquote teams that have holes on their O-line, you will not go far in the playoffs.
They get exposed very, very quickly. I mean, that's a common theme every year. I mean, I don't understand how people don't understand that you win in the trenches. It's not old school. You win in the trenches. You won in the trenches 50 years ago. You win in the trenches today. Now, does it help to have a star receiver, a star corner? Obviously. But if your line sucks on either side of the ball, you're not going to win a Super Bowl.
You're not going to go anywhere. You're not helping.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes was the best quarterback on the planet last year. I watched him run around for 60 minutes with a brief the weekend interlude in between. That's all I watched, because what happened, their O-line was awful. You win in the trenches, and they weren't winning in the trenches, and they lost by 22 points in the Super Bowl. And, Patrick Mahomes was thinking about maybe joining his brother on TikTok, retiring right there probably. I don't know. I mean, it was that bad.
No. I mean, the Bills are one of those teams that I think They understand that. Look at how many resources they poured into their defensive line. Next year, it's going to be better, and so now I think they'll flip to the other side of the ball.
I hope so, because I can't stand another year of Cody Ford and Ike Bucker.
No, really, and you poured that much money into Josh Allen to watch him get hit and run around, like the injury risk, and you're just not going anywhere.
I mean, he's already hurt because he already got hurt in the Buccaneers game because we were forcing him to be our entire offense, and he just can't do that, especially with $258 million on his back.
You can make Devin Singletary look like a good running back with a good O-line, too.
Anybody can look good with a good offensive line. Any running back.
Right. So
even Tony Pollard's looking good behind Dallas's O-line.
Yeah.
What's his name? Corey Clement did, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Garrett, you're completely right. You win in the trenches. And I went back and looked, and I think it's been maybe 6 or 7 years where the Saints have used their first-round draft pick, at least one of their first-round draft picks, on a lineman.
We had
that's how you build winning teams.
Ruiz. I don't even want to talk about
Ramczyk.
Ramczyk. I mean, Ramczyk's a star. Armstead was a first rounder out of Arkansas, like Pine Bluff or something like that.
Armstead was a third rounder.
Really?
We got Andres Pete was a first rounder out of Stanford. Cesar Ruiz was a first rounder out of Stanford or out of Michigan. We used our first pick of the 2019 draft on Eric McCoy. You know, the trenches are important. Steven, we were talking about how awful of a coach Cliff Kingsbury is.
He is. He's among the league's worst. Do you have anything to say, Steven?
Yeah, can we hear your take on the Lions game?
I was talking about it on Sunday.
Finish chewing first. Don't.
What do you guys about hot dogs? Okay, we're saying nothing. Cool. Like
no one could understand you, so.
I said, what do you guys put on hot dogs?
Ketchup,
mustard.
Okay,
I
Bryce.
expected that from Bryce. I don't know. Not Cliff's fault. Cliff's a great guy. Maybe he's not going to.
So whose fault was it then? Whose fault was it losing to the worst team in the league?
I'd say the Jaguars are worse.
I mean,
Lions are red hot. No, but I'm just saying that the Jaguars
Jared
probably
Goff
would
has
lose.
had the Cardinals' number for years. He's 9-1 against them in his career.
Passer rating. And what's his passer rating? Wasn't it in the 110s now against them? Maybe 120.
Last week's game it was 139.7 his passer rating. So
I mean, he has their number, and
he had 216 yards and 3 touchdowns.
You know, he's just that guy, I guess, against the
Honestly,
Cardinals. He's probably just giving them
the
flashbacks
Lions
to
are
Super Bowl.
showing that they're a well-coached team.
They should have
last couple
4 or
weeks
5 wins right now.
Oh yeah,
4 or 5.
Probably 6. You thinking?
Is what they'll finish?
No, what they should
have.
Games they've lost. Yeah, with games they've lost by close. Like the Ravens game, they lost to a 66-yard field goal. Then the Niners game, they lost in overtime, which they probably should have won. So
in the Steelers game, neither team wanted to win that game. I mean,
so they should have
That's just kind of like 5 wins by itself.
I think 4 or 5 win season's realistic. Next year they might be, 6 or 7 wins. They're a well coached football team, and they're building from the trenches. They got
which is
Penny
what you
Sewell
need to be
their
doing.
Top 10 pick, right? And we were just talking about this. Like you win in the trenches. They got their franchise left tackle. They got Levi Onwuzurike in the second round from Washington, so they got their 3 tech. And then they got a nose tackle with Aleem McNeil, and those were their first 3 picks in the draft. Like Dan Campbell comes from Sean Payton, who built in the trenches. You win in the trenches, and that's how the Lions are building. And you can tell in those locker room videos that team has bought into Dan Campbell's philosophy, and they're they will.
It's easy to buy into Campbell's philosophy.
I'm just gonna say it right now, and I might get absolutely crucified for it. The Lions could win that division next year, especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves. And I
I
guarantee
don't think that's
once in the
crazy.
next 3 years, at the worst, they'll win that division. At least once in the next 3 years. And don't be surprised. Don't
think
be
that's crazy.
shocked. Yeah. If an Aaron Rodgers-less Packers team, a Minnesota team that already lost to him once this year, and the Chicago Bears can't do anything about a team that is on the up and up, just beat a 10-4 Cardinals team or 10-3 Cardinals team. If they just somehow put it together, they already have their trenches. They're building it. If they start adding skill,
they're building their
players,
trenches.
improving the
They
defense,
have a capable quarterback. DeAndre
Amon
Swift,
St. Brown was a great pick
Amon-Ra
too.
St. Brown, who was their first pick in the 4th round, and that was the first time that they used a pick on a non-trench player. Like, they're drafting well. They have a good front office. They have good coaches. They're
And
building
they
from the
claimed Josh
trenches.
Reynolds off waivers too, which was great for him.
very underrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they're seeing that talent. Also, we haven't talked about it, but Amani Oruwariye, the corner from Penn State, he's 2nd or 3rd in the league right now with interceptions. He has 6. Jeff Okuda's coming back.
Yeah, wait till
they're going to have high draft picks. So they have 2 first-rounders this year.
Craig Reynolds came out of
that's a team
nowhere
that could
too
win that
these last 2
division.
games.
And the best thing about this draft is you could argue the 3 best players are also on the line, offensive. Yeah, I mean, you could argue Thibodeau, Hutchinson, Evan
Neal is up
Kyle
there.
Hamilton.
And
Kyle
if
Hamilton
for some
could
reason,
be a need too.
Yeah, at safety, yeah. I mean, Stingley, I don't see him drafting Stingley, but even that could end up being a position of need. The top players in this draft are all at positions that they could very well need and just attack.
I mean, they could
and
even go
just
wide
have a
receiver
perfect fit.
too later, like 2nd, 3rd round.
Yeah,
There's
this
enough
receiver
talent
class is
there.
absolutely stacked. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're bound. If they pick early in the 2nd round, they're bound to have a guy like Treylon Burks or Drake London or maybe
London
even
would be a
Jameson
great
Williams
pick
fall.
for him.
I mean, if any of those guys falls in the 2nd round, I mean, that's
I
a
could
first
see
round talent
one
right
falling.
there. Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I mean,
With how deep this
like
class is at other positions too, I could see it.
when's the run going to be?
Did
If
we
it
just
happens
become
too
a
early,
Lions fan page? We're a Lions fan page now.
I mean, we're
Ever since the
predicting
start of the
before it
season, we've
happens.
been
I'm just
hyping
saying,
up the
yeah.
Lions.
One
Yeah,
pride,
actually, you know,
baby. One
I mean,
pride.
this really has me excited. I'm going tomorrow and I'm betting my entire life savings, my college fund, all of that on the Lions winning the division next year. And I urge
Garrett,
anyone watching
hold
this to do the same. We're just you guys got me fired up now.
Great. They beat
The
the
Lions
Cardinals,
might be
and
the
now Garrett's
most
going to go lose
interesting
everything.
team.
Oh no, they're winning the division next year.
They might
One
be the
pride.
most
If
interesting
Rodgers
team
is
this
gone,
offseason.
Oh yeah, if Rodgers
You know,
is gone, Rodgers is going to be hosting Jeopardy next year, and the Lions are going
if
to be winning the
Rodgers
division.
is gone, the Bears are going to fire Nagy. They need a new head coach. And the Vikings could fire Mike Zimmer.
They need to.
Who do we think the Bears
to.
get?
They need a new head coach. And then the Lions have the best front office in football. They're in the NFC North. And they're competitive next year as it is. We're not saying they're a Super Bowl competitor, but winning the NFC North with the messy future that it seems to have, it's really not outlandish.
Who do we
It's on
think
the
the Bears could get in for head coach?
Dennis Allen.
Dennis Allen would be perfect. As a Saints fan, I pray not, but I mean, he'd be perfect.
I think you have to go an offensive-minded coach here.
Dude, does
I
Bieniemy
think
find
you
a
do
new
with
job?
Justin Fields. I've seen Brian Dable thrown around.
Dable would be a great player for
what's
him.
that? What's the Baltimore's offensive coordinator's name? It slipped my mind.
Greg Roman.
That would
Greg
be a great
Roman.
fit. I could see working with a mobile quarterback like Fields, really making the most of him. Greg Roman seems like a really good fit. That's a name that I've been thinking about a lot
He's worked with
for that team.
a lot of mobile quarterbacks in his career.
I mean, even Huntley is a Lamar Jackson.
What the hell is Huntley?
Did
Huntley do last week? That was phenomenal.
If you can get that, if that's a backup quarterback that went undrafted, imagine what Greg Roman could possibly get out of Justin Fields with that similar skill set.
And he got 4 TDs out of him.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of a defensive-minded coach who's been around really great offensive minds and good offenses. Like Don Wink Martindale from the Ravens, their defensive coordinator. That might be a good hire too.
I think if you're gonna if you're going to hire a defensive-minded head coach, you got to go with a really good offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
to
that's kind of
kind of help
the
the
issue
quarterback.
with like the Chargers. Their offensive coordinator is Joe Lombardi, who was the quarterback coach for the Saints, and I thought that was an awful hire. He's not a great offensive mind.
No.
You need to have a great offensive mind to develop Herbert. And
Speaking-
also, they're like the worst. I think they're the worst rush defense in the NFL. Like their defense isn't even playing that well with Staley. So
Right.
that is a team that has so much freaking potential. But it seems like the coaching is what's holding them back. If they were consistent, good Lord.
Speaking of really good offensive-minded coordinators, could we see Joe Brady get the Bears offensive coordinator job and follow, like Tolva said, Wink Martindale there? Or will Brady go back to college or something?
I think Brady needs
Brady
to go
goes back to college. Most of these people who come from college to the NFL don't go back unless they get like stupid embarrassed. And Joe Brady wasn't embarrassed. He was like the product of Sam Darnold and improper management.
He was a product of 3 quarterbacks in one season.
Yeah.
And none of them are good either.
That fall from grace was unbelievable. I remember when Dan Orlovsky tweeted, Joe Brady is to Sam Darnold what Sean Payton is to Drew Brees. I remember that tweet. I actually have it in my camera roll. And like I threw up in my mouth when I read that tweet, like to myself.
Man,
and then I read it again and
Carolina
almost
looked so good to start the season too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
it took
just
3
fell
weeks,
off
and Dan
hard.
Orlovsky was like, you know what? We're just gonna say the stupidest thing I've ever heard, which is not foreign for him. That dude's an idiot, first and foremost. I don't know how you back up Matt Stafford for like half a decade, and ESPN gives you a job. I don't understand. That tweet was just the peak. You know, like that was just, you know, the point where I was like, all right, yeah, like it's officially
Is
like
Matt Rule on the hot seat?
Oh, 100%. 100%. They went buy now mode at like 3-0. He needs to be fired.
I think
how many
you
more
give
people
him
can
one
he,
more
can he
year.
throw under the bus? Like how? I mean, do you think it was really Joe Brady's fault about the amount of like
I think you're right.
miscommunication?
I think he's going to get one more year.
Because I can't think of the GM's name anymore, but they're still building this team, and they don't have a quarterback yet. But they're really building that defense to, like, it could be top 5 next year. They have the weapons on offense. They have a great offensive line. They just need a quarterback, and then you could see things get rolling with them in the NFC. So I could see him getting one more year, get some continuity, get a quarterback.
The team has wild card potential going into next season. The problem with them is their quarterback situation is by far the most difficult to navigate, especially going into next season. You have Sam Darnold under a not very friendly contract for 2 more years. I mean, PJ Walker.
Yeah, next year he's making $18 million.
Yeah. Cam Newton, I don't know the specifics on his contract. But you have those 3 guys in a quarterback room. It's cancerous. Like you almost want to just completely rebuild it, but you can't because of the amount of money you have tied up in the multiple guys. I mean, so what do you do?
They really put all their chips on Sam Darnold. When you think of it, they put all their chips in on Sam Darnold.
What did they trade? A second, a 4th, and a 6th for him?
It's the money. It's the finance. It's the financial burden of it because they have a ton of money in McCaffrey, and they're going to have a decision to make on Hassan Reddick, and they're going to have an extension coming for Stephon Gilmore, and like
you're going to have to do something with C.J. Henderson eventually too.
And they're good players, like Brian Burns on his rookie contract and J.C. Horn on his rookie contract, Derek Brown on his rookie contract. Like, they are wasting these. And DJ Moore, has he been extended yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think he has. And they're going to have to pay him. So, and McCaffrey's contract's running out. Like, they are literally just wasting all of this.
It's just a rough situation all around. I think if So I don't think Rule should get another year. Wouldn't surprise me if he got another year. I don't think they're going to figure it out with the way their quarterback situation's set up. I think it's going to be a missed opportunity. By the time they get it figured out, they're going to have missed out on extending a few guys or overpaid a few guys, not be able to afford to bring in more talent to really put this team together. I just don't think they had all their pieces aligned at the right time, or when they looked like they had all their pieces aligned at the right time.
When they thought they did.
When they were 3-0. And
and
they
that's what I'm
went into
saying
win now
about putting
mode
all their
for like
chips
2
in.
weeks. Yeah, I
Like,
don't
they
even
needed
disagree
Sam
with the
Darnold
move.
to work out.
Yeah, I don't even disagree with that move. I like the aggressiveness, especially for a team that's just been a bottom feeder behind the Bucs and Saints over the last few seasons. To get aggressive, like I was like, all right, I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
But then it just
I
caved in, and that
respect
was because Sam Darnold sucked. The coaching sucked. How many more people have to get fired before you realize maybe Matt Rule's the problem? And he might get another season. I think he needs to go. I don't think.
I
he's
do.
done
No,
a
I
good job.
agree. He needs to go. I think he's going to get another year, but
Just
it's
because
such a
they
bad
haven't
look
finished
because
rebuilding yet.
all of these rookie contracts, McCaffrey's contract, time's ticking. They needed this quarterback to work out, and it didn't. And now Matt Rule has 1 year to like bippity boppity boo this thing and get them into the playoffs.
And I think I heard too that they're going to use Cam and Sam Darnold this week. Who is it, against Tampa? So that should be fun to watch both terrible quarterbacks playing. Yeah.
If you have Tampa Bay's defense, start him in fantasy, because we got Mr. I'm seeing ghosts out there and Mr. 5 of 21 against the Miami Dolphins. But he's back.
I couldn't believe how bad his velocity is on his balls against Buffalo. Cam's.
He's not good. I don't understand how people.
No, he's shoulder shot.
Cam Newton. Yeah, I mean he's been
shoulder shot.
He's the only guy that can have a losing record with Bill Belichick. I mean, good God, like the way that team's turned around, like oh my, like it just makes you realize like how poorly he played to not just to have that team not where it needed to be, because all you just bring in Mac Jones. It was just literally the most average guy in the league. He's taken Kirk Cousins' jobs because Kirk Cousins has kind of played so well this season. Mac Jones is just taken over as the most average quarterback in the league. And even with that, Bill Belichick's threatening a Super Bowl run. So all you got to be is average. That shows how far he was below average to have that team where it was last year, and somehow had a starting job for a few weeks with them. And that just shows just where the Panthers are at, I think, especially with their quarterback situation.
They're a sad situation for sure.
Bryce, I definitely know yours, but what is your game of the week?
Game of the week? Hold on a minute.
Wow, I thought that would be a really quick
Bills
Pats.
I could go Bills Pats, but I'll probably sound biased here. So one game I really like is Colts Cardinals.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Ravens Bengals.
Yeah.
That's gonna be huge. Good Lord. There are a couple good ones this week, honestly.
Yeah. I don't really care about signing bias. I can say Miami, New Orleans is going to be huge, because if Miami wins that game, they're right back into the AFC wildcard picture. If New Orleans wins that game, all of a sudden they're 8-7 with games against Carolina and Atlanta left. They could realistically finish 10-7 somehow after a 5-game losing streak and sneak into the playoffs. So I think that game, the winner kind of gets themselves into the playoff picture, and the loser has and
Niners
the loser
Titans could be good too.
Niners Titans.
The loser of that game's done.
Yeah, that game is basically a playoff game.
I mean,
at this
the
point in the
Saints
season
are vying for a wild card right now, pretty much with
both teams
with
are, honestly.
the Eagles.
Yeah,
it's the Saints and the Eagles vying for one, and the Eagles have
Washington's
like an easy game, and then they play Dallas week 18. Our hardest game left on the schedule is this one Monday night against Miami in New Orleans. So
if they win that game, there's a very good chance for the 7th seed. If they lose that game, it becomes very difficult. And you look opposite. If Miami wins that game, there's a good chance they get in as by the 7th seed. And if they lose that game, they're kind of out. So it's really you're playing to keep your season alive for both of those teams on Monday night. People might be like, that's a boring Monday night game. It's like, no, it's kind of like really a playoff game. these teams are battling for the 7th seed in the respective divisions, and whoever loses has kind of settled themselves as outside the picture with not much of a chance to get back in, barring something crazy elsewhere not related to them. They're kind of fighting for their destinies at that point in the season.
I would have said Colts Cardinals too, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Well, we all know why you're picking Colts Cardinals, so your opinion doesn't really matter here with this game.
That's kind of a big game, dude.
It is for both teams, really.
I mean, the Cardinals, their run defense hasn't been stellar, and if the Colts get Jonathan Taylor going, they'll win the game.
The Rams could honestly take the top spot in the division if Indy beats them. They could honestly win that division coming up.
If the
That's
Cardinals
crazy.
collapse again, can we fire Cliff Kingsbury?
No.
If the Cardinals collapse again, I mean, my God, you have a Hail Murray and then just collapsed last season. Everybody's like, well, it won't happen again. It won't happen again. But here we are, and they just got absolutely dismantled by the Lions. And all of a sudden, their huge lead in a talented NFC West is shrunk.
They're getting cocky.
Yeah. Well, are they even getting cocky, or are they just getting burned out? Kyler looks like he's playing a step slower. He looks injured. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not.
He
Hopkins
is.
That
now
run
out.
game isn't as
ankle
good as
sprain.
it was earlier in the season either. James
That
Conner
ankle
and
sprain's not
Chase
going
Edmonds
away.
aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've just slowed down. They've got some injuries nagging, and it's just a repeat of last year. Like, how many times as a Cardinals fan are you willing to put your mental health through this of just a late season collapse? While Cliff Kingsbury sits in his huge house looking like a recently divorced dad in his mid-30s. I mean, like, how many times can you go through this? Like, I don't understand. Like, the dude needs – if they end up in a wild card and lose in the first round, can we get that dude out? I don't think he's a good coach at all. I don't think he's a top 20 coach personally. I mean, he's an air raid offense, and if the offense is sputtering and you're, like, what's the point? Vance Joseph's done a great job with the defense. I mean, but what has Cliff Kingsbury done? Nothing.
Not a lot. The Rams have a fairly easy schedule coming up too. It's Vikings, then they're at the Ravens, and then finish the season with the Niners. So I think they could honestly get 13 wins here.
Oh, it's possible.
Because the Ravens aren't playing that great of football right now.
That'll be a good game for sure. I mean, they could easily win that division. I mean, really in the NFC, there's the 6th seed is as good as the 1 seed right now. Like, it's so closely knit. And then the 7th seed's going to kind of just sneak in and be like the little brother. And, maybe they'll play spoiler, but all those teams are so closely knit but that makes winning the division even more important, so you can get that home field for the first round of the playoffs. So, Arizona loses their lead in the division and become a wild card team, I think